This video is a follow-on from the previous 3 videos dealing with price in the precious metals markets. If you haven't seen those videos, I'd recommend you doing so before watching this one. So let's pick up where we left off. The gold standard is the name given to the backing of a currency with gold. With a gold standard, a currency can become money. Or rather, I should say, a currency can assume the status of money. It will never be money because it lacks the all-important store of value. I talked about this in the previous video. The expression as good as gold has often been used in respect of currencies because currencies which are backed by gold can be used in trade to buy products as if they were gold. The currency then can act as a money substitute. Currencies don't have any intrinsic worth, any value in and of themselves, so unless they're backed by gold, they're totally and utterly worthless. Backing a currency with gold gives a currency a value that it would otherwise not have. To repeat this because it's an incredibly important point. Currencies don't have any real intrinsic value. In and of themselves, they aren't worth anything. They derive their value from the thing that backs them, and this has in the past been gold. Let's have another look at currencies that we use, but from a slightly different angle. The currencies that we all use today are fiat currencies. There are only really 3 things that you need to know when it comes to fiat currencies. Number 1, unbacked. Number 2, government decree. Number 3, limited lifespans. So let's look at these 3 points in more detail, point by point. Point number 1, unbacked. A currency that is unbacked or not backed up or supported by anything is called a fiat currency. I've talked about this already, about unbacked currencies, so there's no need for me to say any more on this. Point number 2, government decree. Fiat currency is a currency that is brought into being by dint of government decree. So basically, the government passes a law which makes that currency legal tender in that country. It then can be used to buy goods and services, etc. According to Investopedia, open quotes, the term fiat is a Latin word that is often translated as it shall be or let it be done, close quotes. Point number 3, limited lifespans. Fiat currencies tend to have a limited lifespan, lasting only on average about 50 years. Be advised, the value of all fiat currencies have in the past gone to zero. Every single fiat currency in history has become absolutely worthless. Relatively recent real-world examples of currencies which have gone to zero are the mark in Germany's Weimar Republic circa 1923, or post-war Hungary's pengo circa 1946, or Zimbabwe's dollar in the latter part of the 2000s. There are reasons for this limited lifespan, why fiat currencies go to zero, but I'll go into that in another video later on in this mini-series. Let's return to the gold standard. Backing a currency with gold is the most common way of backing a currency. With a gold standard, a currency can become a money substitute. It can assume the status of money, but it will never be money because it lacks the all-important store of value characteristic. Even with a gold standard, a currency is still only a currency. It's not real money, and it never will be real money, and it shouldn't be considered as being real money. Anyway, moving on. On the 15th of August 1971, President Nixon of the US suspended the convertibility of dollars to gold. This event is known as the Nixon shock. Basically, this move ended the gold standard, stopping the exchange of dollars for gold. And as all other world currencies were linked to the dollar, overnight, all currencies became fiat currencies. This was a pivotal event in history, and we're living with the consequences now, but few people are aware of this and the repercussions. Needless to say, perhaps, but prior to 1971, currencies were backed by gold. In summary, currencies are not money. They might masquerade as money, but the truth is they're not money and they never will be. Currencies are fake money, false money, phony money, funny money, or whatever terms you want to use. They pretend to be money, but they aren't actually money. To repeat, even with a gold standard, a currency is still only a currency. It's not real money and it never will be real money, and it shouldn't be considered as being real money. Currencies are money substitutes. I realise that I've laboured this point a lot, but the difference between money and currency is incredibly important. It might seem like a trivial thing, but I can assure you it isn't. It's most certainly not inconsequential. Why is this so important, you might be asking yourself? Well, because unfortunately, currencies are still somehow being billed as being bona fide money substitutes. They operate in our economies as if they were money, and yet, as I've said numerous times now in this video and in others, they are not real money. Make no mistake, we're in the midst of a full-blown currency crisis. When it hits full force, it's going to be cataclysmic. Also, when this happens, the difference between money and currency will become apparent, all too apparent. People will be forced to see the difference between currencies and real money, gold and silver. Alas, the vast majority of humanity are entirely oblivious of all this stuff, and they will, unfortunately, suffer massively as a result of their ignorance. They will pay a very heavy price. Many millions will die, and I don't say this for the sake of sensationalism. I mean this very literally. Many people will simply starve to death. I've done my best to alert people as to the dangers that lie ahead, but few people have taken heed of my words. On a lighter note, as I said in the previous video, most people, myself included, sometimes use the terms money and currency more or less interchangeably, but technically they are different and so shouldn't really be confused. That said, this misuse of language is not altogether surprising. The word money and its attendant usage is embedded in the language. So we have expressions like make money, time is money, put your money where your mouth is, or money doesn't grow on trees, etc. Currency has been equated with money when it shouldn't be. Paper money, as it's called, should properly be called paper currency. The money supply should properly be called the currency supply. Only precious metals like gold and silver are money. They are monetary metals. Currencies are money substitutes. This situation regarding language is not just true of English. The word for money in French is argent. The direct translation into English is silver. The word for money in Dutch and German is Geld. The sound is very close to gold. Precious metals like gold and silver have been used as money throughout the ages, and we see this reflected in the language. The words are the legacy written into the language. To finish off, the banknotes we use are just paper, pretty printed pieces of paper, and with regard to coins, shiny bits of metal. Have you noticed that coins are coloured gold and silver? This is done deliberately to fool people into thinking they're real money. It's a psyop, a psychological operation, one of many perpetrated on the people of the planet. As for digital currencies, these are just digits on the computer screen. Need I say more? Gold and silver are real money. Currencies are money substitutes. They masquerade as money. I split the topic into a number of videos, so there's another however many to follow. In the next video, I'll focus on perceptions. Wise up and rise up.